because the speaker that you will be hearing from today, you heard her before. And as time goes by, she only gets better. So today, you will be hearing from Sister Lakeisha Babb.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. We give honor and glory to our Lord. For he is great and he is mighty and he is awesome. Yes. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Salvation, glory, honor, and power to the Lord our God. Amen. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise God. This is awesome and wonderful to be praised. You may be seated. My first honor is to God, who is my sustainer, my keeper, my deliverer, and my friend. I give honor to God for our pastor, Morgan Stewart, and our first lady, Sister Esther Stewart. I thank God for all of the deacons in the house who labor arduously in the church, ensuring that we are comfortable and things are kept together. Amen? I thank God for the brethren, the people of God. And I pray that our hearts will continually be united as one. That we will be as one as God and his Son are one. Amen. And last but not least, I give God honor for my husband, Elder Babb, who is the love of my life and my best friend. I thank God for my children. I thank God for the newest member of our family, my little granddaughter, Miss Nyla. She puts a smile on my face every time that I see her. She has a beautiful smile. It seems to be contagious. I seem an honor and a great pleasure to stand before you, the people of God, because this is not something that should be taken lightly. God is real, and this is a holy place. And it should be reverenced, and it should be esteemed above all places. God has given us many blessings. How many of you know that we are a blessed people? We are a blessed people of God. But sometimes I believe that we do not understand exactly how blessed we are. We are so blessed that no man can curse us. As Elder Babb shared a few weeks ago, the only way that we can be cursed is if we leave the blessed place and travel to a far country. And when we leave God's presence, Satan rejoices, because now he can do whatever he wants to do with us. Now he has access. He has the freedom to do with us whatever he wants to do. But because nothing catches our God by surprise, and because we serve a God that loves us with an everlasting love, when he saw us in this cursed place, as Brother Gordon shared with us, that God sent his Son, Jesus, and he took our place. He took our place to redeem us back to himself. So when we almost, but God. Amen. And this is why we have to come to God with a grateful heart. A heart of thanksgiving for what God has done for us. Pastor Gordon reminded us we need to have a heart like the one leper. A grateful heart. Because although all 10 lepers received their healing, only one took the time to go back and say thank you. Psalms 92 verses 1 and 2 says, "It is good to give thanks unto the Lord and sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night. We need to learn to give God the glory. Amen. We need to learn to thank him for all that he has done for us. And so I'm going to go directly into our scripture today. This time is already far spent. I want us to turn our Bibles to 2 Kings chapter 6. And we're going to read verses 8 to 17. That's 2 Kings chapter 6. We will read verses 8 to 17. If you can stand, I'm going to ask that we stand to the reading of God's holy word.
Hallelujah. Amen.
We will read together as verses 8 to 17 of 2 Kings 6. Let us begin. Then the king of Syria warred against Israel and took counsel with his servants, saying, in such and such a place shall be my camp. And the man of God said unto the king of Israel, saying, beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. And the king of Israel said to the place which the man of God told him, and warned him of, and saved himself there, not once nor twice. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And he called his servants and said unto them, will ye not show me which of us is the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, none, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet, that is in Israel. Tell the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy picture. And he said, go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, behold, he is open. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots, and a great host. And they came by night, and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early, and gone forth, behold, the host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And the servant said unto him, alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And Elijah prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountains were full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. Praise the Lord. May the Lord have his blessing on the reading of the word. I would like to point your attention to verse 17 for emphasis. And Elijah prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes, that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. The topic that God has laid on my heart for us today is, it's not what it looks like.
Amen. Hallelujah. Amen.
Can you please tell your neighbor it's not what it looks like? Turn to the other neighbor and say, it's not what it looks like. It's not what it looks like. In the book of 2 Kings, chapter 6, we see a prophet named Elijah. But to truly understand why Elijah operates in such an extraordinary way, why he operates in extraordinary faith, why he operates in extraordinary confidence in God, we need to take a look at his background. Elisha is introduced in the scripture in 1 Kings chapter 19. When Elijah is given an assignment of God to go to Mount Horeb, to anoint 2 kings and to anoint Elisha as a prophet. When Elijah is anointed by Elijah, Elisha immediately joins himself to Elijah. So Elijah becomes Elisha's mentor. He teaches him. Elisha watches everything that Elijah does. During this time, Elisha is privy to the power of God in a supernatural way. Elisha witnesses Elijah call down fire from heaven twice that destroyed groups of soldiers. He heard the prophetic death sentence that was spoken on King Uzziah, which came to pass. Now, the scripture tells us in 2 Kings chapter 2 that Elijah was going to be taken up in a whirlwind because Elijah would not see death. And no matter how Elijah tries to leave Elisha behind, Elisha refuses to leave his master. Amen. On 3 occasions, Elijah tells Elisha, stay right here. Wait right here. He tells him to wait in Gilgal. He tells him to wait in Bethel. He tells him to wait in Jericho. And in all 3 occasions, Elisha said, no, master, I will not leave you. No, master, I'm not going nowhere. He refuses to leave the man of God. Now, Elijah watches Elijah. He watches him wrap the mantle that he carries and strikes the Jordan River. And Elijah and Elisha travel across this Jordan River on dry land. Now, this mantle represents God's covenant with Elijah. When he was called to be a prophet. Therefore, whenever Elijah went, he took this mantle. Wherever he went, he had to take his mantle. Because this mantle was a symbol of God's prophetic power over his life. Elisha knew that Elijah was blessed and anointed by God. And he wanted to be just as blessed as anointed as Elijah. 1 Corinthians 12:31 says, but covet earnestly the best gifts. And yet I show unto you a more excellent way. He had a desire to be like his mentor. He had a desire to be like his teacher. But he didn't have a desire to have this gift because he wanted to show off in any way. He just wanted to be a man of God. Amen. So when he understood that Elijah was going to be taken away, and when Elijah realized that Elisha was not going to leave his side, Elijah said, all right, come on, ask me what is it that I shall do for thee, because I be taken away before thee. And Elijah didn't ask for just any blessing. He was very specific. He wanted not just a portion of blessing, but he wanted a double portion of blessing. So when he asked for this blessing, Elijah heard his request. And he tells Elisha, this is a hard thing that you're asking. He didn't say it was a hard thing because he didn't want to give it to him. He said it was a hard thing because it wasn't his to give to him. The blessing was never his to give to Elijah. The only one that could pour out his spirit upon you is God himself. And so he tells Elijah this. He says, if you see me when I'm caught up in the whirlwind, if you happen to see the whirlwind take you, then you will have your blessing. But if you do not see me, then you will not have your blessing. And if we look at verse 11 of 2 Kings chapter 2, it says, it came to pass, as they still went on and taught, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went by a whirlwind into heaven. Now, Elijah was the only one to witness this extraordinary event.
Amen.
I can just imagine that moment. Elijah knew that he had just received his blessing. So Elijah goes and he picks up the mantle that fell from Elijah. You see, now here the mantle represents the promise and the presence of God. It is the promise because Elijah told him, if you see me caught up by the whirlwind, then you are going to get your blessing. And it is the presence of God because when Elijah was crossing back over the river Jordan, He struck the river with the mantle and asked, "Where is the Lord God of Elijah?" And the waters parted. Now the mantle itself could not part the waters. Come on now. The mantle itself could not part the waters. The presence of God parted the waters. And God's presence even remained with Elijah even after that day. The Bible even says in the scripture that the waters saw God and the waters was afraid. So imagine the presence of God parting those waters. So now, when Elijah goes before the sons of the prophets, they see a change in Elisha. Elijah doesn't look the same anymore.
That's it.
Suddenly now, Elijah looks as if the spirit of Elijah has not fallen upon him. It's resting upon him. And he can see the presence of God in Elisha's life. Elisha received his double portion of blessing and began to perform miracles in Israel. He turned undrinkable water into sweet water. He fills the widow's jar with oil so she could pay her debts. He raised a boy from the dead. He threw meal into a poisoned pot of food, and it became food that was edible. He took 20 loaves of bread and fed 100 men, and there was still a lot of bread left over. He told Naaman, "Go to the river Jordan and wash yourself 7 times, and ye shall be healed of your leprosy." And he was healed. He recovers an axe head by cutting a piece of stick and throwing it into the water, and suddenly the axe head floats. So now we are at verse 8 of chapter 6, where the king of Syria warred against Israel and plotted against Israel with his servants. This wicked Syrian king planned to set an ambush for Israel. Now the king of Assyria was angry because he could not understand how the king of Israel knew about his plans. How did he know? So now the king was concerned. So he says in verse 11, "Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And he called his servants and said unto them, Will ye not show me which of us is for the king of Israel?" In other words, the king was angry. He was furious. He said, "Okay, I have a traitor in my camp. And I need to know who it is. Which one of you is a traitor?" Because when we were planning this coup, no one else was there. It was just you guys and me in my bedchamber. So how is it that they know about my plans? Tell me which one of you did. Now, what many people don't realize, and what many Christians sometimes forget, is that there is always an unseen eye.
Amen. That's it.
An unseen witness that is present at every minute, every second, every moment of the day. And he is present in everything we do in our lives. He sees our actions, he hears our conversations, and he even reads our thoughts. So when you are plotted against by the enemy, when you are plotted against by your brother, by your sister, by a family member, by a co-worker, by a friend, by an acquaintance, God witnesses it all. And he sees it and he will reveal it. There's a saying that what doesn't come out in the wash eventually comes out in the rinse. God will reveal it. Verses 12 to 13 says, "And one of his servants said, None, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet, that is in Israel. telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. And he said, go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, behold, he is in Dothan. Now, when I read this, I had to read it again, because it just didn't make sense to me.
Amen.
Because what bothered me was that the servants knew who Elijah was.
Amen.
They knew he was a prophet of God.
Amen.
They knew he was a man that God spoke to. And if we are honest with ourselves, at one point or another, you may have read the scripture and wondered the same thing. So when he stood, that's all right. I'm moving ahead of myself. So if we read the scripture, we see that he knew who Elijah was. So if he knew who Elijah was, and he knew who Elijah was serving, and if he knew who Elijah served, then I don't understand this. That if you knew he had the power of God with him, did you not think in your mind, if he could see what's in the bedchamber, that he can also see the plan that you guys have against him right now?
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about you. I don't know if you thought about that. But I thought about it as I was reading the scripture. If they understood where the power and anointing came from, then I don't understand why they were not afraid.
Amen.
If I was a servant of the king of Syria, I would have said, King, I know you looked out for me. I really appreciate you, but I'm out. I'm going to go find Elisha, and I'm going to join myself with Elijah.
Amen.
But no, the servants didn't do that.
Amen.
No, one of the servants said, King, I don't think we should go after Elijah. Not one said that. No one said that it wasn't a good idea.
Amen.
No one said that he's miles away. No one said any of that.
Amen.
But instead, they all joined forces with the Syrian king.
Yes.
The king in this scripture represents the enemy.
Yes.
The servants represents the influence by position and association with the king.
Amen.
There's sometimes that we are so influenced by the people that we hang out with that we can't even see that the things that they are doing are against the will of God. You see, these servants, they were not ordinary people. They were not slaves. They were not ordinary servants that waited hand and foot on the king, but they were his counselors. They were prominent people. They were his confidants. They were his thought partners. They were the ones that he would talk to them about the plans that he had for the country and what he wanted to do. Any wars, anything that came up, he would have a conversation with these men. And men in this type of position feel that they are very important.
Amen.
And the reason why I think they did not tell the king that he was doing things that were incorrect, they did not check him on his behavior, was because they didn't want to give up their position.
That's it.
Elijah in this scripture represents the people of God. He represents God himself. And if you really take notice, the king doesn't do his dirty work. I want to repeat that.
Yes.
If you really look at the scripture, the king doesn't do his dirty work. He sits in his palace. However, he sends his servants to implement his evil plans. And every evil plan, every plan is to capture and destroy the people of God. When you are sleeping in your bed, enjoying your night's rest, Satan is preparing for an attack. He's planning, and he's planning well. And then when you wake up, you find yourself surrounded. I don't know if you've ever felt surrounded? That you were in a space and a place, and everyone around you seemed to be against you.
Yes.
But I have been there. I have felt surrounded. But how many of you know that your relationship with God determines how you react under the attacks of the enemy? When the enemy attacks you, it is your relationship with God that determines what you do. So in verse 15, it says that when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host encamped the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? Now the servant that is with Elijah, he's very afraid. In his eyes, this was the end. They were both doomed. So he looks at Elijah and asks, how are we going to get out of this?
Yes.
Now this servant was a new servant. And I say new servant because in chapter 5, Elijah's former servant, Gehazi, was cursed with leprosy because he took the money from Naaman and then lied to Elijah. So this servant really didn't get the opportunity to witness the miracles that Elijah had wrought in his life. Therefore, the servant was looking at things from a natural eye instead of looking at things from a spiritual eye. But Elijah was looking at things from a spiritual eye. So, if we are honest with ourselves, and if we can say that it is true, at one point or another, each and every one of us have gone through what this servant is going through right now.
Amen.
How many times have we asked the same question, or some form of the same question? Lord, how am I going to get out of this one? How am I going to get through this situation? What is going to happen to me? What is going to happen to my children? What is going to become of me? What is going to become of my children? Am I going to perish, Lord? Am I going to be destroyed? Lord, 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 what's going to happen? We ask these questions because you see, for every situation, there is a question. When we are faced with illness, we have a question. Am I going to be healed, Father? When we are faced with trials and tribulation, there is a question. How am I going to get through this, Jesus? Are you with me, Lord? When we are faced with attacks on our jobs, in our homes, or even in the church, there is a question that we ask. Lord, how am I going to survive this one? But Elijah did not have any questions. He was unfazed. He was just very calm. He didn't care what was going on because he knew in whom he believed. You are no longer seeing through your physical eyes, but God allows you to see things through his spiritual eyes. God will reveal things to you that he will not reveal to those around you. Because your relationship with the Master is deeper and connected. Tell somebody it's a deeper connection. It's a deeper connection. Verse 16 says, and he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. Now I can just imagine the servant looking at him, and I can just imagine him saying, one of me. The whole host. You all right, Elijah? I can imagine his mind saying, is something wrong with him? Maybe he didn't get any sleep last night. Because I'm looking at this situation, and I see 1 and 2. I see a host outside. The Assyrian army outside. of them. All right. Okay. Whatever you say, Elisha. So to dispel his servant's apprehensions and concerns, Elisha prays a prayer of discernment and revelation on his behalf. In verse 17, Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. Now, suddenly, the servant understands. Now he realizes it's not what it looks like. You see, sometimes we allow our eyes to determine the outcome. We don't see what is possible because we are looking at what's impossible. You have to understand that, my brothers and sisters, we have to walk by faith and not by sight. When Lazarus was in the grave, stinking, and it didn't look like he would ever live again, Jesus came to Lazarus. And he said at his graveside, Lazarus, come forth. And Lazarus came forth. It's not what it looks like. When Job lost everything, his children, his cattle, and sickness took over his body, so much so that he was like the walking dead. He didn't think, nor his wife thought, that he would ever live. But God restored his health, and God gave him sevenfold of a blessing that he had before. It's not what it looks like. When we look at Hannah, and how Hannah was barren, she could not bring forth a child. And she prayed earnestly before the Lord. It didn't seem like she was ever going to bring forth a child. But something happened when she went back home. Something happened. God allowed consummation to take place. And suddenly she brought forth a child by the name of Samuel, one of the most faithful prophets ever. It's not what it looks like. And there are countless stories in Scripture that show us that God is consistently working on our behalf, fighting our battles, and it's not what it looks like. And he is still working today. This week I read a true story. And when I read this story, I said, wow, Lord, you've been giving me little bits about what you wanted me to talk about, and this story just fit right in place. There was a young nurse who left her job at the hospital. She was going home for the evening. And as she normally did when she got in her car, she would pray. And she prayed and asked God to shield her and to cover her as she journeyed home. As she was journeying, she noticed on the car that it was low on gas, and so she decided to go and stop at a local gas station to get gas for her car. While she was there getting gas, she said, I feel a little hungry. I want a snack. So, you know how the gas stations have those little marks there. So she went inside and she bought something to drink and got some snacks. And she went back into her car, she paid for her gas, and then off she was about to go. But as she drove out of the gas station, she noticed that a truck came right after her. She didn't think anything of it because, hey, he got gas, I got gas, I'm on my way home, so it's okay. She kept driving on the road, and as she drove, she noticed that the truck was getting closer and closer to the back of her car. And as she continued to drive, she noticed that the truck driver put on his high beams. and the light was flashing inside of her car. She wondered, what's going on? Why is he doing that? At first, she was concerned. Then he turned his high beams off, and so she said, okay. And she didn't know what it was about, but she just figured, okay, he'd stop. She kept driving, and the truck driver was still right behind her. And he put his high beams on again, and then he turned them off. Then he put them on again, and then he turned them off. And she said, what is wrong with this man? Why is he doing that? Now she started to become angry. She said, why is he doing that? She started to argue with herself in the car. And then he turned the high beams off again. And as she kept on driving, she said, I'm going to exit. She exited at her exit, and as she exited, the truck driver was right there behind her. He wouldn't let her go. He put on his high beams again. Now she started to become fearful. She said, what's going on? Is this man going to hurt me? What is he going to do with me? So she immediately put her foot on the accelerator and tried her best to get to her house as quick as possible. But the more that she pushed on the accelerator, the more he pushed on him, and he was right behind her. On with the lights. Off again with the lights. On again with the lights. Off again with the lights. She quickly drove inside of her driveway, and he pushed his car over in the driveway right behind her. She jumped out of the car screaming, help! Help! Somebody help me! Help me! Help me! Her family came running out. He said, he's after me! He's after me! The man came out of the truck. He had a gun in his hand. She said, he's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill us. But then he said, no, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. He said, what are you talking about? You've been driving behind me the whole way. He said, yes, I had to because that man is in your car. When she went to look and her family went to look, there was a man hidden down in the bottom of the car. She said, when you kept turning on the light, she said, yes, every time I saw the knife come up, I put on my light and then he ducked down. And then when I saw him come up again with the light and he ducked down. She said, it's not what it looks like. I'm not following you to hurt you. I'm following you to save you. When I heard and read this, it just resonated how God is working for us. It's not what it looks like. We may not understand what's going on around us, but God is working something out for our good. And it's not what it looks like. God is constantly fighting our battles. And the enemy is hiding in the shadow. But God will put his light upon the enemy. To let him know that he has no power over our lives. All we have to do is ask God to open our eyes.
Hallelujah. Yes, Lord.
Open our eyes. Say, open my eyes, Lord. Open my eyes, Lord. We have to ask him to open our eyes. Because it's not what it looks like. Praise the Lord.
Will you praise the Lord? Will you praise the Lord? Give the Lord a praise. So we could all understand the message she's getting across. It's not what it looks like. And I don't know if any of us ever sometimes maybe walking in some dark alley and you might see people or something surrounding us like what she said. And somehow they just sometimes turn back. It's because it could be that you're seeing something that we're not seeing.
Hallelujah. Come on now.
I know I walk sometimes in some places in the past, and sometimes I don't know what I get through. But the Lord came through those valleys in those times. We never like to finish our service without calling, giving a call after call. Like someone or anyone here who have not yet accepted the Lord as their personal Savior, the altar is open. Today, if you heard His voice, you heard the word, you heard the message, the altar is open. If there's anyone who have not yet made the Lord their personal Savior, you can come to the altar. We pray with you, and we have people here that will teach you so you can understand the word. If there's anyone that needs special prize, the altar is open. You can kneel down.